I don't like it. What's up, YouTube? Impromptu live. Come on, like doing an impromptu live. I don't even have my official setup, but I got something. First of all, I would like to say welcome to the new subscribers to My Creative Nomad Life. Welcome. I'm very happy to have you here. Very happy to have you here. Yeah, my back is a little itchy. Um, it's probably dirty. Take two. Okay, maybe I shouldn't say that, but it's probably true. So, not filthy. It's not filthy, just probably a little dirty. So, welcome, welcome, welcome. Check this out. Uh, I re I repotted my. I think it's still. I repotted my beautiful pink butterfly Sangonium. It has a very nice, very strong root system. So it needed a bigger pot. So I gave her a bigger pot. So she's going to grow some more and be very happy in there. She looks beautiful in her ceramic pot. So, yeah. So I just wanted to do this impromptu live just to reintroduce myself to my new subscribers and do a little story time. And I'm doing it live because the YouTube Create Studio, which is where I edit my videos, I'm thankful it did let me edit the video that I did recently, which was like 15 minutes, because it's been acting janky. It's been acting janky. And anything longer than like 8 minutes, it wouldn't load. So I was very grateful that it loaded that because I did not have a backup plan. So I figured I would just come live for this. So, um, yeah, let me just get right into it because I do like for my lives to be interesting and for people to watch the replay as if it was a regular video. So let me just open up, since this is a live, open up with my prayer. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever and ever. Amen. Heavenly Father, I ask that you be my words. Let everything that come from me come out smoothly and with the truth. And I ask that you protect and give good intention for everyone who is on this live and who watched the replay. And I would ask that you just fulfill the hearts of everyone on this live and watch the replay with abundance, knowing that we are not living in a world of lack and we are co-creators, and everything that we think with positivity and speak with conviction is and must come to pass. Thank you in the mighty name of Jesus. We pray all these things. Amen. 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 Let's go. All right. So, like I said, welcome to my new subscribers. I appreciate you all being here. If you come on this live and you are a new subscriber, say hi and let me know where you are watching from. So, my journey into van life. All right. Well, I knew as a teenager, just a little backstory, I knew as a teenager that I was not going to spend the rest of my life living a traditional life because I hated it. Absolutely hated it. I hated just living in the same spot. And I thought utilities were absolutely stupid. The biggest setup of all setups. And I wasn't for it. I knew it was not something that I was going to spend the rest of my life doing. So when I got divorced, which was in 2012, I got divorced. I was still in cosmetology school. But once I finished that, I lived with my ex-husband for a year after we got divorced because I was still in cosmetology school and I didn't have anywhere else to go. So I lived with him. In 2020, now I was a big HGTV watcher. I love HGTV. So in 2013 on HGTV, there was the tiny home movement just getting bigger and bigger. So HGTV was showing a lot about tiny homes. And I thought that was cool because I like the smallness of it. So I thought that was really dope. But what really intrigued me and attracted my attention was the mobile tiny homes. The people who were nomads or they were empty nesters and wanted to now become nomads, they had tiny homes put on trailers so that they could live on the road and travel and move around. That is when my little antennas was like, bing, 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 bing. I love that. I thought that was dope. So I was like, "Ooh, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that." So, and I really love the smaller ones. So then dig this. I don't remember if it was HGTV in 2013 or something else, or if it was YouTube. However, there was a guy. He was a felon, a convicted felon, and so he was fresh out of prison. And he didn't have a place to stay, but he had a pickup truck. He had a pickup truck and he built a back on it. Like not anything that looked like a home. He just built up his own little tiny mobile home. And I want to say it was like 87 square feet, but he had it. It was so functional. And then he created his own source of income. But that really piqued my interest. I thought that was so dope. I thought that was the dopest thing that I had seen of all the things that I had seen. So this was in 2013. I'm looking at the mobile tiny homes. So what's up? What's up? Welcome. So I went on ahead living my life. I was a hairstylist and makeup artist. So I was in Minnesota at this time. I went ahead living my life. 2016, I wake up one morning and I was like, I got to get out of here. I cannot continue to do this. I got to get out of here. And I was independent hairstylist. I had clients on my books a month and a half out. I left everybody. I picked up my lease to read it to see if I could sublet my apartment. I could, so I called the owners. It was owned by just an older married couple. And I was 9 months into that lease and my rent was $200 less than it was where I was living at before. So it wasn't an affordability thing. I hated my life. I hated the traditional aspect of my life. I despised it. And so I woke up one morning literally and I was like, I got to get out of here. I got to get out of here. It was November. Another harsh Minnesota winter was coming. I was divorced. My kids had already moved out, like they were in their 20s. I was an empty nester. And I was like, I have no reason to stay here and to continue living like this. So I did everything I needed to do so that I can get out of here. I packed up my little Honda. I had a 97 Honda Accord, which will later become Hotel Honda. Okay. So I had that little Honda. I packed up everything, gave away, sold, donated, just whatever I could. And I drove straight through 30 hours from Minneapolis to Phoenix, Arizona. And so when I got to Phoenix and I didn't have an apartment set up, I knew someone, a childhood friend. He had just moved there. He and his husband had just moved there. So they let me stay with them for a few days. And so that's where I landed. That's where I landed. I left Minnesota November 28th, 2016. I got to Arizona December 1st at 4 o'clock in the morning. Okay. And yeah, that was that. I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do. I knew what I was not going to do. I was not going to rent an apartment. I definitely wasn't going to buy a house. And I wasn't going to do anything traditional that I was coming from. I wasn't going to do that. I knew that for sure. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew that. So then I'm sitting and I'm exploring what are my options. So then I created my own list of what my options could be as far as living. So I was like, okay, well, I could rent a room in someone's house. I could do a co-living where, it's like a hostel type situation where you're sharing the entire space, even the room you're in, you're sharing with other people. I was like, I could do that. And then I think it was around this time as well I started seeing, or it might have been later, because what I did, I ended up renting a room. I rented a room. It was a guy, he was divorced, and it was just a small townhome, one story, 3 bedrooms. It was his family, he was divorced and he had 2 kids and they were moved out. So it was their home. And it was cool for a time. I think I had signed a 6-month lease and, it was straight. And when I got tired of that, I was like, okay, this ain't gonna work because he was really wanting to bring in like a family type situation. He wanted us to just be family and all like that. And I just wanted my privacy. I just wanted to rent my room and mind my business. You know what I mean? So by this time, it's September 2017. And by this time, for sure, I had already started seeing the car dwelling on YouTube. I had already started seeing some young women who, for them, their motivation was they wanted to pay off their student loans. So they were moving into their cars. It wasn't fancy. Nobody was buying a vehicle. They weren't vans. It was just their sedan. They was moving into their sedan strictly so that they could pay off their student loans, so that they could buy a house or, whatever they wanted to do. But it wasn't a permanent move for them. It wasn't anything like that. Right. So when I saw that, my mind flashed back to the tiny mobile homes. So I'm seeing these young women moving into their cars and starting to, do whatever they could to convert it. Like people weren't even converting them right away. So I started looking at my Honda. I'm like, I can do that. I can definitely do that. So at the end of my 6-month lease, we're renting this room. That's what I did. I moved into my Honda. It was difficult because being in this room, I had accumulated things. Like I had accumulated more shoes, more clothes, just more things because I had a closet to put things in. So the biggest struggle I had was downsizing enough so that my trunk isn't full and my backseat isn't full. But this essentially was my journey into first alternative living and then into mobile dwelling. So I also, uh, I want to say, I revamped my YouTube channel at the time, or I renamed it, or whatever I did, because then I started documenting my journey of moving into my car. And so I named my car Hotel Honda, right? So it was now me living into Hotel Honda. So I did and back then the videos were easier. It was more interesting because it was new. Like it wasn't all over the place. So it was day one of sleeping in my car, day two, 2 weeks of, and it was very exciting and my channel grew and things like that. But at the same time, 2017 was also when I was like, okay, I gotta figure out how to stop being self-employed. Like, this was the beginning of my journey, also of getting away from being self-employed, which is easy. It's something I've done off and on since my 20s. Like, I'll go back and work a job for a few months, and then I'm like, F this. Like, I'm just not set up to do that W-2 thing. So then I will figure out what I want to do and create my own services, or, whatever it is. Like, it's easy for me to be self-employed. But I want to, even still now, like, the banner on my page is Vanlife, Inspiration, and Entrepreneurship. Like, I am determined to be a business owner, right? So mobile dwelling was perfect, still is perfect, but I knew it was perfect for me at that time because I knew my income was going to be up and down, up and down, up and down. And so the last thing I needed is a big overhead. So it was perfect for me. And that was also, a part of my videos and things like that. My videos were just very raw. I wasn't editing, I didn't have, it was nothing like that. It was just, I'd record my video. I was sleeping in my front seat. I started off in the back seat, and, it was just a Honda Accord, so I couldn't stretch out or anything. And then somehow or another, I realized that my front seat laid back mostly flat. Like, it was pretty comfortable, very much more comfortable than the back seat. So I started sleeping in my front seat. And that was like a game changer for me. But again, it wasn't converted or anything like that. So I was in there for not quite a year. It wasn't, I don't believe I didn't make it a full year by the time Hotel Honda got stolen. I was maybe about maybe 7 or 8 months. I was about 7 or 8 months, and then Hotel Honda got stolen because I got sick. I got sick, and it worked out perfectly because one of the girlfriends I met in Arizona, she needed an in-house. She really wanted an in-house nanny for her daughters while she worked. So that was perfect. So I was living with her, and I was sick at the time, so that was perfect. But Hotel Honda got stolen out of her parking lot. The parking lot of her building was, which I found out later, was notorious for having break-ins, car thefts, all kind of shit. So my car got stolen. It got broken into, and then 2 weeks later, it was stolen. So that left me without anything, right? So, but I was still sick. I was living with her. So then as I got well, which was in 2019, when I started to recover and get well, 2019, then I started renting a room. I was staying with one of my girlfriend's moms temporarily, and then I went into um, a Airbnb, a co-living Airbnb. So this particular house was women's only, and they did short term because some of the people there lived in Arizona, and so that's where they lived. And then also there were women that would come in from out of state. Like one lady, she was an older lady, really really cool. Her son had just got drafted for whatever the baseball team is in Arizona, so she was coming there to watch him practice and different things like that. So people were just coming in and out, but it was a vibe. It was a whole vibe. The house manager, Kitty, her and I got along really well. We actually still are in contact with one another. It was such a vibe. So that's where I was really able to recover and get well. And started, I was making like little crochet things, like just little things. I was making like barefoot sandals, and, just selling those for a couple of dollars. And this is where having this experience is why I'm like, I'm not going to make them little things. It's just not worth it for me. But I was doing that just to keep a couple of dollars flowing. And so from there, I went into a women's transitional housing. Um, and I think I started looking for a W-2 job at that time. I started looking for a W-2 job. Um, I think I'd gotten one or two. I don't really, I don't really remember. And I did get a W-2 job. I think I was working, I think it was a temp. Yes, it was a temp. So I started going through temp agencies. That's what I was doing, going through temp agencies. And this was through a temp agency, but it was at Sprint at the call center. And then I started renting a room from two women. And this is kind of where things kind of hit the fan. And from there, I came here to California. So all of these things for me is called homeless. I call it homeless. Once I decided to move into my vehicle and become a mobile dweller, because the first night sleeping in Hotel Honda, my very first night, let me tell you about that. My very first night, I was in a strip mall parking lot. Now, it was just a regular vehicle. I didn't have my windows tinted, none of that. And I had only been in Arizona maybe 9 months by that time. Yeah, because I moved in there September 2017 and I got to Arizona December 1st, 2016. So 10 months I had been in Arizona. So I was in this strip mall parking lot. And the only thing I was nervous about was because I didn't have any tinting on my windows. And again, it was all new. So I didn't sleep very comfortably because I'm, peeking out the windows and everything. But although I didn't sleep very comfortably because I didn't have any privacy, I was addicted. I was hooked. I knew that that was it for me. I don't know what it was, but I loved it. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. As I got more comfortable with um, getting lighter, with getting rid of things and just getting rid of un, un, uncluttering my trunk, uncluttering my back seat. Now, it wasn't crazy, but it's still, I spent a lot of days getting light, just getting rid of things. My whole mindset shifted. It was a complete mindset shift. I was looking at things like, do I need this? Shoes, everything. Like I was just trying to get as light, as light, as light as I could. And that also made for interesting videos, back then. So people were interested in that and just the whole process. And I had this big ass igloo cooler, right? It was square, but it was tall, and I had this igloo cooler. And how I ended up getting rid of that, I ended up getting rid of that because one night I could not make it over to Fry's, or I think they may have been closed. It may have been after midnight, but I couldn't make it to any bathroom fast enough. And it was just a number one. I only had to go number one. But I ended up having to use my cooler. I had to pee in my cooler. There was nothing in it. There was nothing in it. I didn't have anything in it. But I wasn't gonna wash it out after that. I just threw it away. That's also when I realized that a toilet is absolutely a necessity, but I didn't have space for all that. So what I would do is I would go to, because where I ended up parking, I ended up having a regular parking spot. And by this time I had also got my windows tinted. Well, I did it myself. I tinted my windows for two reasons. One, that Arizona sun, baby, it will cook you. It will cook you while you at the stoplight. Do you hear me? And so I got tired of cooking at the stoplight, literally. And so I got my windows tinted. And then one night, because Arizona has a beautiful nights, like I love the Arizona heat. So at night, it's still very hot, but you don't have the sun. So I was able to put my window tinting up in my back window one night. And then that just gave me full privacy. I have my sunscreen for the front windshield. And that is when I really started to sleep good. So I was parking in another strip mall parking lot. It was in Mesa, kind of on the Mesa Gilbert border. But there was a Planet Fitness, which was 24 hours. Planet Fitness, there was a Fry's, there was a gas station, there was a little neighborhood, hole in the wall, little speakeasy or whatever, and just uh, a few other stores. So that's where I would sleep at night. Like that was my regular parking spot. I'd pull up there every single night. And so I would go to Fry's right before they closed at midnight and I would use the bathroom. And they opened at 6. So I was able to make it, all through the night. And then first thing in the morning, I would go running there. I would go running there to use the bathroom in the morning and also to wash my face, brush my teeth, and do things like that because I did not have a Planet Fitness membership at the time. So that's why I didn't use Planet Fitness because I didn't have a membership. Shortly after that, my girlfriend Gina, who worked third shift, she started coming to me. So we would have our smoke session in the morning, but we would go work out because she had a Planet Fitness membership and she had the black card. So that is when I started going there in the morning, work out. Then I was able to take my shower and do all like that. So that was great. But that was my whole bathroom situation. And then like throughout the day, I didn't spend my days like in this whole car dwelling type of life. My days were spent figuring out my life as an entrepreneur. So I went down the road. I was working with, I don't know if you've heard of it, MCA, Motor Club of America. So I started working with them. It's an MLM, multi-level marketing. But I really took it as a business. There's this one guy, Rodney, who I was watching a lot of his videos. So I had printed out all of the stuff. I had a binder and I was going around to small businesses. Like I wasn't trying to, the guy who I got brought in on, it was a scam. And when I say it was a scam, it was a young dude who was selling the lifestyle. So that's how I got in. But I knew that wasn't my personality and I wasn't interested in that. I saw the business, right? It's still a business. And I was able to utilize that, which came to my benefit with Gina and I. So I was able to utilize the service as well as having it, which is why I really, really liked it. So I started watching Rodney and he was working it as a business, which is what it was. So that's how I started attempting to do it. And I was watching a lot of Grant Cardone to really just get better as a salesperson. And all of this was really perfect for my life as a new car dweller. Now, back then, the first time I ever got the dreaded knock, I was behind Planet Fitness because this was like the perfect spot to connect to their Wi-Fi. So I was sitting behind Planet Fitness in Hotel Honda with these dark limo tinted windows. And I was working on my MCA stuff. And so a police officer drove past and came up to me. He was so cool about it. He gave me resources and everything. So he came up to me and I was cool. I didn't have any energy of, I didn't have that rah-rah energy or nothing like that. So he was like, "Are you living in your car?" I said, "Yeah." And he gave me some resources such as there was a place not far from there where you can go and get lunch. Like they had a garden. So all of their vegetables and stuff, they served from their garden, which was really dope. So I would go there to eat. And he gave me, I think, 2 or 3 pamphlets. And he said, just make sure you pass one on to someone else, which I did. And so that was really dope. He was very cool about it. And he was like, understand where I'm coming from. You're sitting back here. You got these dark tinted windows. And Hotel Honda was a deep, deep, deep purple. it almost looked black. You could only see that it was a deep purple in the bright sun. So he explained why he was coming up to me, and I was cool about it. I totally get it. So anyway, he didn't make me move or anything. It was cool. He gave me the pamphlets and he moved on. That was the only time I ever had a police knock on my door or anything like that. Because at the time, I really was mostly living outside of my vehicle. I just pretty much slept in there because my days were spent figuring out how to become, how to build this MLM business and just working on my income and stuff, right? Where is the chat? I'm 2 years full time, no knocks yet. I'm an urban city dweller. Same here. Queen Multi-Sweet, greetings. Oh, you're not late. You're not late at all. Every time is right on time. So, yeah, I pretty much just slept in there. So, I used to say it like on my videos, I live out of my vehicle. Whereas in contrast, right now, and since I've been no longer homeless, I truly I live in my vehicle. I make sure they're comfortable and I live in them. When I live traditionally, I like to go and do things, but I essentially am a homebody. I love being at home. If I'm somewhere else, think like I'd rather be at home. It's always the most comfortable place for me, and so that includes my vehicles. So anyway, that was that. So I've already told you guys it got stolen. So when I moved here, I came here and it was another abrupt decision. I was in Arizona. I was looking in Craigslist, the gigs. I was looking in the gig section, and I think I was crocheting. I think I was crocheting my Dr. Seuss inspired sweater at that time. And I was just like, I got to get out of here. But let me tell you what really prompted this decision. So I'm renting a room with these two ladies, and they're brown sisters like me. They were in a relationship. So I found that room on Airbnb. Okay, follow me. Okay. I found the room on Airbnb, the app, on the app Airbnb, not Craigslist. All right. They have this room for rent. It was within my budget. Cool. I called, I went to meet them. It was cool. Like we just gel. You got these three beautiful sisters, brown. Oh, it was perfect. So they accepted. I moved in with them. I'm thinking everything's on the up and up. Square ass me, right? I'm thinking everything's on the up and up. So I'm still, now my YouTube subscribers, like they're following me. Oh, when I left YouTube, when I got sick and Hotel Honda got stolen, I was off YouTube for that year that I was sick. And I had 300 and something subscribers. When I went back to YouTube, I had 1,800 subscribers. I was like, what? So now I'm back on YouTube, back making my videos, and my subscribers, were engaging. So one of my subscribers on there has sent me a sewing machine. It wasn't brand new. It was hers. And she was thinking about giving it away or doing something. So she ended up sending it to me at this room where I'm renting. So I'm asking my landlords essentially, if it's here, if it's here, if it's here. Now, remember, I found this on Airbnb. They're like, no, they would walk out. Let me go check. Let me go ask the rental office. Let me go check. So they would walk out of the apartment, be gone in enough time to go down there, talk to somebody, check, and come back. Because the rental office, the leasing office was, you had to walk through the courtyard. Like there was multiple buildings. And so, I don't know, a couple months go by and nothing, right? So I'm constantly asking, And she tells me it was delivered. All right, nothing. I'm like, this is odd. So one day they weren't home. I take it upon myself to go to the rental office and ask myself, right? This was in October. This was in October 2019. I go there. The lady asked my name, the leasing, the property manager, whoever she was, she asked my name. And she's like, where do you stay? She brought my package out. She brought out my sewing machine. The box looked tattered. You hear me? But she brought out my sewing machine. It's been there all that time. So she says, okay, I don't have you on the lease. You would need to either sign, fill out the application, pay the application fee, or if I see you on the property again, you got to move. Matter of fact, this was, I want to say, October, this was between October 28th and October 30th that this happened. I'm like, oh, word. So they didn't even have authorization for me to be there, which I thought was the case. Like, I'm thinking it's all on the up and up. So I didn't tell them. October 30th, I'm looking on Craigslist, I'm seeing gigs, or like I say, the 28th, let's say it was the 28th, 29th, whatever. I'm looking on Craigslist, I'm seeing gigs. It was the 30th. It was the 30th. And I was like, I got to get out of here. I said, I need to be in California. I need to be in California because California is somewhere that I wanted to come since 2010 when I was married as a makeup artist. You know, it was a whole different set of circumstances then, but it was like, this is somewhere I wanted to come for a long time. So it's like, okay. I went on Google, I knew I was not, like I vowed as a child, I would never get on Greyhound again. But I saw this Flix bus, Flix, never heard of it. Saw this Flix bus. They had a bus leaving at 1 a.m. or 1:30 a.m. This was October 30th that I'm looking at it, right? So they had a bus leaving out from Arizona to California at 1 a.m. or 1:30, October 31st, which means I'm not going to sleep tonight. I need to clear out my room, pack up all my shit, find a ride to the bus station, and I'm leaving this night. So I let them know that day that I was leaving that day. I didn't tell them what happened at the rental office because they know. They know. They know that all them times they were going, pretending to go and check on they know they weren't. They know they didn't have authorization for me to be there. They know that. I was the one just finding out, right? So I didn't tell them any of that, and one of the ladies, she wasn't happy about it. Well, you know, sometimes things happen. I wasn't happy about the whole situation either, but what am I going to do? Tell you what you already know? You already know. So I need to do what I need to do because I wasn't going to sign a lease. I wasn't going to pay an application fee. If that was the case, I would have did something different other than look for a place on Airbnb. All right. So I left. I didn't have a vehicle at the time. Hotel Honda was still stolen. I didn't have anything else at the time. So when I came here on that Flix bus, I had $300 in my pocket. I had $300 in my pocket and I was homeless because this is what I call it. I was homeless when I was renting a room from them, right? So I made my plan and I decided, what I was going to do and how I was going to navigate myself in California. And when I tell y'all, I hit the ground running. Like I was making moves. I was making moves when I got here, all the way up until the world shut down. And even after it kind of semi-opened back up. And even when it shut down, by that time, I was co-living in a house in LA. And when the world shut down, I immediately started doing a 5-day-a-week live show on my YouTube channel. So, I made moves when I got here. I still didn't have a mobile home. Like I was renting a room, co-living. By this time, I'm co-living. So I was in a room. It was a whole house, but the room that I was in, it had bunk beds. It was pretty dope. Had some bunk beds that they had made, and then on the back of one they had like a picture of Beyonce, and then a picture of Rihanna on another one, and just it was dope. Like they advertised them as artist house. So that's why I was there. The first house that I was in, which was owned by the same people, it was in Hollywood, and I chose that house because they had a studio room with the what is it called? The backdrop. They had a small little room that was sound padded for podcasts and different things. So like I said, they advertised them as artist house. So that was perfect. That was perfect. I had ended up getting a mannequin, just a little mannequin on Craigslist for $40, and it was a brown one. So I got that. I think I took a Lyft or Airbnb to go pick it up, and I was full-fledged crocheting. I was crocheting a bunch of stuff, and I would put it on my mannequin and take pictures of it, and different things like that. So, but that was a horrible situation. Like these people were Ukrainian, and so it was just an awful situation. So then I moved to the other house in LA in Koreatown. So I was in a room with, I think, 5 or 6 other ladies. Our room had a bathroom in it with the shower and stuff like that. So I was doing a live show 5 days a week. And now the world shut down. I'm fresh in California. I just started making moves and making connections, and meeting people and things like that. Now, bam, the world shut down. But I pivot, it's okay for me. I adjust. So that goes on, and the world start opening back up. I had a bunch of stuff crocheted. I also was doing some epoxy resin, so I had some rolling trays that I had made, and some ashtrays, and then I also did some freehand sculptures. So had sets of that. So I just hit Venice Beach to sell, the things that I had to sell. I was just hustling, right? I was just hustling. And so I did that until I really couldn't do it anymore, just because everything takes so long to make. The crochet, the epoxy resin, you need at least a good solid 3 days. So then I left that house. I didn't know where I was going after that. Didn't know where I was going. But the way my belief and my faith is set up, and my life has shown me that I'm always taken care of. And I truly am. So I don't navigate or move from fear or worry or anything. I truly don't. So I don't even know. Like, everything just worked out. So I see an ad on Craigslist looking for an African American female caregiver for my aunt. This is what it said, for my aunt. She's an African American woman. So I was like, oh, that's me. You looking for me. So I called, yada, yada, ended up getting that position. It turned out to be a scam. It was this black dude. He was a RN. He was an actual RN. He was scamming Miss Pam. That turned out to be a whole scam. But I said, God put me here because he knew that I would be the one to sniff this out and to get it all taken care of. So I went there on Thursday. I went there either on Wednesday or Thursday to meet with him. And it was either Thursday or Friday was my first day, one of them. By Saturday, I knew everything in me. I knew something wasn't right. I knew it wasn't right. I saw him interact with Miss Pam on Friday. So I want to say Friday was my first day. And their interaction that was not his auntie. I just knew that was not. So that was my first inkling. Saturday, when I tell you it was so strong, I had to really calm myself down because I said, Shalanda, if you call the police and your ass is wrong, either way, you messed up. So I stayed calm. I stayed calm because I thought too, because he smoked weed at the time and I did too. So he had smoked a joint with me outside and it was some sativa. So I thought maybe I was just paranoid and tripping. All right. I thought you tripping, you paranoid, but I trust my instincts. So I was like, okay, just calm down. I sat on the couch like I had to really talk myself into calming down. But then Sunday, my third day there, Sunday, Miss Pam calls me into her bedroom and she say, I just need to tell you the truth because a house built on lies can't stand. So that's when she told me that is not her nephew. She said in August, I don't remember what month this was, but a couple months before, she said she had fell in a chair in her room and wasn't able to get up and was on the floor for 4 days. She said she was able to crawl to her back door, and this was a trailer home community, so the doors was like on the side of the home. So she was able to crawl over there because that is where she kept all her water, all her bottles of water. So she said she was able to crawl over there because she said she knew that if she can just get some water, she'd be able to keep herself alive until help came. And she said the postman is the one that hurt her. And she also was in the habit of keeping that side door unlocked. So the postman, she said, now she's telling me this story. He heard her. She was very faintly, she had a soft voice anyway, but she said she was just faintly saying, help, help. And the postman heard her. And these trailer homes were very close to one another. So old boy was one of the full-time caregivers for the guy who lived right next door, right next door. So he comes and that's how he got involved. This fool had Miss Pam, Miss Pam said he came with some white guy, had her sign power of attorney, and there's another one. There's another power of attorney that kicks in even if the person is incapacitated. I'd never heard of that before. Dual, dual power of attorney. So he had her sign both of these forms. She didn't really know. Now she told me all of this. She didn't know what was going on, but she knew she needed help. So this is how that all happened. And like I said, I knew Friday something wasn't right. Saturday, it just was beating in me. So then, now what he would do, he would just go and buy things and then tell Miss Pam that he got to reimburse her for that. So when he would pay, and then I was the 8th caregiver that had been in and out of there within like 2 months. 8. So Miss Pam was like, I keep telling you, you don't have to do this. And I keep telling you that you don't even have, I could pay them myself. I could pay them directly, So he would pay and then tell her she gotta reimburse him and then include all the fees for all this meaningless stuff that he bought that she didn't ask for, that he didn't even ask her if she wanted him to buy. So, I'm watching them back and forth argue over that. And she also said, don't call me Auntie Pam. So now Sunday is when she told me everything. I want to say it was Monday or Tuesday. Here he come trying to backtrack. And he come with all lies. Now I'm just looking at him. Because she already told me what's going down, but I didn't tell him. Anything that she told me, it was between her and I. Anything that he told me, I told Miss Pam. Okay, that's how that went down. Whatever he said to me, I told her. Whatever she said to me, that stayed with me. I didn't even mention to him at all. So he comes with that's not my biological auntie. I'm married into the by marriage or some like just some faulty story that he came up with that he's telling me because I was there when she said, "Don't call me Auntie Pam." So of course he got to come say something because again, he don't know that Miss Pam already told me the full deal. So Thursday is when everything hit the fan because before Thursday, between Sunday and Wednesday, he tells me to get her car keys and to keep them on my person. And just some other things he was saying. I don't even remember, but other things he was saying that just didn't set right with me because it had nothing to do with me being her caregiver. It had nothing to do with me taking care of her. So I'm like, why would I do these things? So he also told me that I needed to make sure her and I go to the bank to get the money before Thursday. Like he was adamant. He was adamant. I always got paid on Friday, but he was adamant, right? So Thursday come and the bank's closed. And now he's irate. He was irate. So Miss Pam, he comes, he forced himself in. Miss Pam is grabbing my arm like she was scared. She ended up calling. I gave her my phone to call the police. He's mad. He go next door. He calls the wife of the woman next door. I'm thinking, what do they have to? It was a mess. The police come. The sheriffs come. All these people come. And because, keep in mind, he has power of attorney papers. Okay. But I would not let them just leave it at that. So one of the guys I was talking to, and I'm just trying to reinforce that this is a scam. I don't care about them papers he got. You guys, you have to look deeper into this. This is not just that cut and dry. And I said to the one cop, and I did say it to him, and he was starting to believe me. So I didn't get any type of trouble for this. But I said, if this was my mother, and I think I just kind of left it at that, but he knew where I was going. So they're starting to hear me now. So they got him over at the house where he's caring for. So they're asking him questions back and forth. They're talking to Miss Pam. So how they knew that something wasn't right was some of the things that Miss Pam had told him, because there was a name on there that was her dad. Her dad had died like 10 years before. He didn't have answers for, and some of his answers were contradictory to the facts and things like that. But however, they did make me leave that night. So although Miss Pam told them, because they asked her flat out, do you want her to leave or do you want her to stay? I want her to stay. They made me leave because he did have the power of attorney forms, although at this point they didn't believe him. They knew something wasn't right. And then they started saying that too, like I was hearing them overtalk. So I had my sleeping bag. I went and it was in a gated trailer home community. So I had to go outside of the gate. I slept on the grass. I went out and I slept on the grass. I didn't even sleep. I was up all night, but I was laying in the grass until the morning hours. And then I walked up there again and, I'm ringing the door. It was 4:00 in the morning when I went back up there, and I'm ringing the bell, knocking, ringing the bell. Miss Pam didn't get up, or I didn't get in until about 6:30 or something like that. And she was like, I kept hearing somebody ring the doorbell. I was like, that was me. That was me. So we finally get in, and this liar, oh boy. So he was the Monday through Friday caregiver at the neighbor's house, because this guy, whatever condition he was in, he needed 24-hour round the clock care. So he was the Monday through Friday, and then a different guy came on the weekend. So I'm seeing the shift change, right? Because again, the houses are right next door from the carports. So his coworker pull up, and here he come volunteering lies. He was like, I don't work with them. I don't work with her no more. It was just too much drama. You don't say. Oh, okay. Nah, your whole car got pulled. Your scam got pulled. So anyway, that was that whole situation. So October 31st, 2020, my 1 year anniversary, uh, I was excited. Miss Pam was also a 7-day Adventist, right? So by this time, Miss Pam and I had agreed, we had an agreement that I wasn't gonna come. And also, I forgot this. I found a room for rent in that same complex. It was another woman renting a room in her home, just walking distance, a few trailer parks down from Miss Pam. So it was perfect. So, uh, I would get her set up on Friday, and I would just come back Sunday. So Friday, it was October 31st, 2020, my 1 year anniversary of being in California. I had done so much by then, and I was just really proud of how far I come. I didn't have a home again. I still didn't have another vehicle, but I was making money and saving up. I had also just started, I had just found a manufacturer for my tracksuits. So I had just ordered samples. I found a manufacturer in Pakistan. I had just ordered samples of my tracksuits, and I think I was starting my newsletter, which I eventually evolved into a magazine. So this was happening. I did a YouTube live for my 1 year anniversary of being in California. I was just so geeked, so excited. But while I'm doing that, I keep getting told that Miss Pam is not alive. I just keep getting told this. And I was like, that's weird. Why? Why? It just, I don't know. I just, in my 40s, I said, I'm really going to start honing in because I started getting my, visions and things when I was a little bitty girl, which I already talked about. So anyway, I, I, I acknowledged what I was hearing. I just didn't accept it. So Saturday was November 1st. And I had worked Friday. So this was after my shift, right? This was Friday evening. So I had already been at Miss Pam's. It was so Sunday, November 2nd, I walked around there, start my thing, knocking on the door. And I know, Miss Pam will sleep kind of late till like 9:30. But I'm like, this is odd. Okay, so I go in. I think I had a key. So I go in. Yeah, I wasn't knocking. I had a key. I went on in, and as soon as I would go in, I say, "Hey, Miss Pam," and I didn't hear anything. So I automatically just assumed again. I know what I was told on Friday. I just didn't accept it because it just I didn't accept it. I just saw her. I didn't accept it. So I thought it was odd that I don't hear anything. Why, she's still asleep. So I go into her bedroom. She's laying on the floor. She had her blanket and her pillow. So she wasn't laying on the floor like she fell. She had her blanket and her pillow. She was wrapped up. Um, and she was only 69, right? So even her friends who I ended up being in contact with were asking me like, how did she get in? What happened? What happened? Because they were like, when we last saw her, even like 2 years ago, she wasn't in this condition. She could walk. Everyone that knew her was just like, what happened? And so I didn't know, and Miss Pam could never really tell me what happened, how she got in that position at such a young age to where she could hardly walk. She needed care. She didn't have a stroke. She says she never had a stroke. It was nothing like that. I don't know. So, but she had, some Depends. So she had changed her Depend, um, the poopy Depend. It was on the floor, neatly pushed aside at the wall. She had a fresh one on, her pillow and her blanket. She was wrapped up, and this is how she was laying. She was on her back. She had one hand over her head like this, and she was laying, and her face looked peaceful. Her face looked peaceful. And if you've ever laid on your back in your bed or on the couch in this position right here, this is how I found her. That's how I found her. Now, before I go on, let me pause because that Wednesday, now she had a brother. It was only two of them. She was the oldest, and they were like 2 years apart. And her brother did have some mental health issues. I mean, he was functioning enough to know when he was flashing me. Okay. So her brother, he was also functional enough to know that he was working with old boy to scam Miss Pam. And but he had mental issues, right? And he ended up being called back to Cali from Atlanta. He was in Atlanta and just doing his own little thing or whatever. And they were both getting a pension because they both worked at Kaiser Permanente. They were retired. And even Miss Pam had told me that her mom is the one who helped Mr. Greg all throughout his life and got him that job. So although she knew he was on meds and had mental health issues, his mom still, pushed him through the professional world and things like that. And he dressed nice. He used to have me drive him to Macy's, and he's spending hundreds of dollars, hundreds of Miss Pam's dollars, okay, going shopping and things like that. So he left Wednesday at 1 something in the morning. He calls me, my phone ringing, ringing, ringing. I didn't answer. But at like the morning, I called back, no answer. So he left. He left Miss Pam at 1 something in the morning on Wednesday. No. It was a few days before that. On Wednesday, Miss Pam and I were talking about it. And it was heavy on her. Like, she loved her brother. He was stealing money from her and all kind of things, but she loved her brother. And on Wednesday, when we were having this conversation, I said, Miss Pam, you're a better sister than me. But we also have different dynamics. I'm the youngest. She's the oldest. So I just wouldn't let my brother use me like that. And one of them tried, I'm moving in with you and live for free and I ain't gonna pay no bills. No, you're not. No, you're not. You're absolutely not. You're not even gonna know where I live, but I'm the youngest. Like, you're not gonna do that to me. And she's the oldest. And so she was really, really hurt that he had just left like that. She was hurt. I saw it in her face, heard it in her voice when we were talking, and he just wouldn't answer the phone anymore. So I think Saturday is when, I was getting told Friday that she had passed away. But the way she looked to me, she looked like she decided that she was done. She looked like she decided that she was done with life. She also was down to her last $11,000. She was down to her, because we had went to the bank shortly before that. She was down to her last $11,000 to her name. And so with what she was paying me and what her monthly, the cost for that, where her trailer home was on, she wasn't going to make it she was just going to make it to the end of the year. And so as soon as I saw her, and I know the condition she was in Friday, which was coherent, and it just, I could be wrong, won't be the first time I've been wrong in my life. But with this, she looked like she decided, because I know the power of the mind. I know that. And so I called, like, once I realized that she was dead and her body was cold, I called 911. And I'm not hysterical, but I was freaking out. And they were like, "Do you want me to walk you through CPR?" I'm like, y'all gotta come. Y'all gotta come here. I don't know. No, you have to come here. She's not moving. It was really a trip for me. And I had already been in contact with her longest friend she was originally from Ohio. So her friend back from Ohio, who they both ended up moving to California when they were around 11 at separate times, but their families both moved there. And so they reunited when they were 11. And so I had to call all her friends and let them all know. Here's the tripped out part. Miss Pam was in. Now, her brother had left. He was not able to be contacted. No one was able to contact him for months. Miss Pam was in the city morgue for 4 months before they were able to have her funeral. 4 months. They had no family. They had no children. Both of them were divorced, and none of their exes wanted to be invited. She had been divorced for 20 years. Miss Pam had been divorced for 20 years. And Greg, again, his mental health issues, his ex-wife definitely didn't want no parts of none of the situation. But when they contacted him, he said, I'm on my way to the Bahamas. I'll call y'all back when I get settled. That was his response to being told, your sister is dead and we need you to, figure this out and move this forward. So when she died, that was my income. That was my active income. And so I had to I had to figure it out again from there. Okay, so I had just ordered my tracksuits. I had a stash saved in my room. Thankfully, I'd only signed another 6-month lease renting with Miss Verdi. I'd only did a 6-month. So my last month there, which was March, I only had $800. My rent was $800. I only had $800. And so I was like, okay, I'm only going to be able to pay $400 and stay half the month. And then I'm just going to forfeit my deposit. So I didn't get my $800 deposit back. So again, God always look out for me. I don't know how it happened, but I had a Craigslist ad, which was no longer active, looking to exchange my caregiving services as well as house cleaning, cooking, things like that for room and board. So a guy calls me, an older guy calls me, was like, I think I can help you out. This was March, maybe 12th or 13th, because I had to be out of there by March 15th. So March 12th or 13th, he calls me. Again, the ad was no longer active. And he says, I think I can help you out. I'm having hip surgery on March 19th, yada, yada, yada. So it was like, okay, cool. So I ended up taking a Lyft or Uber or whatever from where I was at to his place, which was in El Monte. And it was like $45 for that. I get out there, y'all. And so as I'm going out there, I said, this is the last place I'm going to stay. This is the last time I live in anybody else's house. And I'm getting my room. I said, from here, I'm getting my home. I'm getting my mobile home from here. I call this a mobile home, right? So just know that I'm talking about a vehicle that I choose, that I convert. And I made that vow. Again, my words will not come back to me void. I said, this is the last. So I went out there. I get out there. There was another woman pulling up in a vehicle. I don't know what other situation he worked out. But dig, if you will, this picture. I go into the driveway. First thing I see, a bunch of Mercedes, right? A bunch of Mercedes Benz. They were older, but still, I see some Mercedes Benz. So this is before I even get inside the house. I'm like, oh, okay, maybe it ain't doing too bad. There's a big golden retriever in the yard, just untrained, jumping, barking, and they're big dogs, so there's a big bark. Jumping, barking, there's all kind of shit. So inside the house, there's a little ass chihuahua And then there's another, I think it was a Yorkie poop. So they, these little, it was pure chaos, pure chaos. I look around. The house is a mess. The house is filthy. There is dog poop on the floor. I see dog poop on the floor. And I'm sitting up here like, am I in the Twilight Zone? Did I just drive into the Twilight Zone? What the hell is really going on? So Craig, this is the guy, Craig, right? So Craig is talking to the woman because she see this environment too, right? And she's like, I don't know what is what, but I think they had something different worked out, right? I think it was something different with them. So it was a guy that took her there. And so this guy's in the living room. He's sitting down. I'm in the living room. They're kind of in the hallway, Craig and old girl talking, and she's just like, what the fuck? So here's me. Like, imagine this is a sitcom. So here's me, chaos, right? I said, is that dog shit? Nobody's hearing me. They talking. She's kind of distressed. I said, is that dog shit? Just this little voice over in the side, just repeating, is that dog shit? So old boy that took her there, he said, yeah, it is. I'm like, what the fuck? This house is a mess. Like the floor got this much thick of having been cleaned on it, right? But I'm like, here's the thing about me too. Like, again, I have to stick to my plan. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to make this work, because I can clean the house. I can clean all of this, So what I didn't know at the time, there was a mice infestation in this mofo so bad. The mice would eat the dog food. This place was riddled with mice. Now, he was also renting out his other rooms, right? Like now he's hobbling, right? Because again, he's about to have hip replacement surgery. So he's in pain. He's hobbling. It was a mess. It was a mess. So once she leaves, she decided to leave. She's like, whatever it is, I can't. So once she leaves, he and I are talking, and he was like, you could either sleep on the couch or I have an air mattress. And I'm like, I'll sleep on a motherfucking roof, but I'm not sleeping on the couch. Like, they didn't look bad, but, and I do like dogs, but not like that. Not like that. I'm not a pet owner, and I'm not going to lay behind. So I was like, I'm not going to, because you don't have these dogs trained. So I was like, I'll take the air mattress. And it was a big air mattress. So I was like, okay. So I got the house cleaned. And I still, I'm still in full entrepreneur mode. So 4:00 in the morning, I would wake up, start working on my magazine. I was also promoting my tracksuits. I want to say it was about a month after that, I ended up having 3 sales of my tracksuits. But at the same time, I'm dealing with Craig talking shit about me, calling me all kind of names, because I'm not like going to work. He just see me just on the computer and yada yada. But I was working. I had a monthly issues. So I'm constantly looking for small Black business owners, sending them to the questions, doing the interviews, putting together my magazine, sending it out. I also ended up having 5 paid subscribers of my magazine. Like, I was working. But to someone, who doesn't know, they don't know. So, I don't care. People can say whatever they want about me. So I was enduring all of that, but I was also keeping this house clean. I was keeping up my end of the bargain. And I just was hell bent on, this is the last place I'm going to stay. So after some time, once we build some rapport, I was like, maybe I should start a cleaning service. And then Craig said that, which was good, because the fact that he said it means he was going to let me use one of his cars. because again, I'm still homeless. So I put together the clientele that I wanted. Now I was in El Monte, right? So I'm in LA County. So I was like, okay, I want to have entrepreneur, 6-figure plus business owner clients. I don't want regular working class people. I was like, okay, I need to be in Orange County. Orange County is where I'm going to look for my clients. And this is like, I'm not capping y'all. This is exactly what I did. So I put my ad on Craigslist. I also responded to an ad on Craigslist, which was my first client, which was the family that ended up gifting me this. And so he let me use one of his cars to go to the interview to meet with her, and he just let me use his car to build the business. And then here he goes, Shalanda, spend your money, I wasn't spending a dime. I was out there at Craig's place for a total of 6 months. By that 6 months, I got the Mercedes Mansion. And I got the Mercedes Mansion September 2021. September 2021 is when I got the Mercedes Mansion. And before that, I had already started sleeping in his car. Like, I couldn't stand being in that house anymore. I wasn't sleeping because the mice, baby, the mice come out at night. Hey, the mice come out at night. The mice come out at night. It was active, baby. They were active. And I just was like, I couldn't do it. And then Molly was the Yorkie poo. She was young. Granny, I call her Granny. So Ginger was the Chihuahua. Ginger was the Chihuahua. I call her Granny because she was old. She's like, I don't know, 15 or some shit. So I call her Granny. So Granny wasn't she wasn't doing nothing. But Molly would chase the mice. She even caught a couple. Molly even caught a couple of mice. You hear me? And I was just like, it was just too much for me. It was too much for me. So, he started letting me use his car. I'm building up my clientele. I quickly got 7 clients. I was bringing in $5,450 every month. I started sleeping in the car, right? I'm like, I'm done. Let me just get back in the habit. All right. Let me just get back in the habit of sleeping in the vehicle, So I got the mansion, and immediately I was out of the house. And I want to say within the week, I left from over there. Within the week, I was like, I'm done, because also the 50-minute drive from there to out here, it just, and then I got my home now. So I don't need to be here anymore. You know what I'm saying? Don't belong where you don't belong. Let me say it again for the people in the back that didn't hear me. Don't belong where you don't belong. All right. So I had been there 6 months. I got my home now. I don't have a reason to be here any longer. You already had your hip surgery. You're walking better. It's been quite a few months now. Our deal is done. And I was out. So I'm back in the mansion. October is when I got the mansion converted. October, I got all the seats taken out and, started working on getting a build. And so then I decided, because I was so busy, I knew I could not do YouTube. I knew I didn't have the time to edit videos or even record. I was busy. All right. So I was like, Instagram fits my life. Let me now, do my thing on Instagram. So I created the Mercedes Mansion _SUV life in October. October 18th, 3 days after my birthday, was my first post. And that page grew so fast. Within 6 months, I had 25,000 followers within all organic. It didn't take me no time at all to get to 10,000. No time at all. Monetize. And then somebody had started following when I think I had 300 subscribers. And in a couple of days, I was at 1,000. And a couple of days after that, I was at 2,000. It was just growing so fast. It made my head swim. Okay. So that's the angle I decided to go. And I don't have any regrets. Like, it would have been great to be on YouTube at that time. I just, I was way too busy. I was working 7 days a week. But I was moving around more. Like, it would have been perfect for YouTube. I just was extremely too busy for YouTube. I just needed that post and go, post and go, post and go, you know. And I was posting on my stories, on reels, and I also had everything set up, like how now I got my Friday night lives. You know, I'm very organized, and I like that. And so I was doing coffee and cannabis every morning. I was going live doing coffee and cannabis and smoke sessions in the mansion, and that is what drew in the big crowd, which is why I decided I'm not going to smoke on camera anymore. I stopped smoking now. I don't know if it's permanent, but I enjoy being sober at this point. But that is the crowd that I drew in. But I was also doing my boss talks. I was doing marketing talk, like all the same stuff that I do. But the stoner community wasn't as multifaceted as I am as a stoner. So anyway, it grew, it grew, it grew. And yeah, that was so pretty much from the mansion. It's just like this has been my journey into van life. And I wouldn't change any part of it. I would not change any part of it at all. The mansion did die. Hey, Seneca. That's right. Don't forget to hit that like button. Thank you. Yeah, I wouldn't change any part of it, any part of it at all. So, how did I get into Le Château? Let's just wrap this up. Now, Craig found the post of the mansion because now, from me driving his Mercedes, that's what made me decide that I wanted to go with a Mercedes. I was driving his, and ooh, the ride was so nice. You know, the ride was so nice. And I was like, okay, maybe I'll just get a Mercedes. Maybe I'll do that. So I was looking at the Mercedes ML 320 and the BMW X3 or X5. It was the X5 that I was looking at. So I did go and test drive. I saw somebody was selling a BMW X5. So I went and test drove one. And one thing I don't like about BMWs, I got a homeboy, he's like a friend of the family. He loves BMWs, the older ones, and he works on them and all kind of stuff. You know, they drive real hard, and I don't really like that. But the BMW X5, I was test driving it, and it started jumping when we got to the light. It started jumping or making a tick. I don't know. It was something, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, no, this ain't it. And oh boy, tried to come up with some excuse. Oh, you just need to change the oil or something. And so I was like, this ain't it. So then I was doing my research on YouTube to compare. I saw a great video comparing the Mercedes ML320 with the BMW, I think it was the X5, and two other trucks. I think, I don't remember. I don't remember. The Mercedes came out ahead. The BMW was just piss poor. And the tests were conducted in the deserts of Arizona. So one of them got stuck and one of them had to be towed, and it was just all kind of stuff. So the Mercedes made it through and it was perfect. And that's when I found out that that series is built in the US, and that's why it was able I think it's anyway, I think it's built in Vegas or somewhere. So it was able to handle and withstand the desert and the sand and, you know, all like that. So, and it's built on like a truck chassis and not a hybrid or, you know, a SUV. It's a truck actually. So anyway, that was like, okay, I'm gonna go with that. So Craig found it. I was at work out at my client's place. He texted me the information or called me, and I called the dude. It was a black dude, little car lot out in Hawaiian Gardens. So I called. I was like, I can come see it as soon as I get done with my client. Yada yada. And it was 137,000 miles on it, and it was. I think I paid 2,100 for it. I think so. I think I paid 2,100 for it. I don't remember, but he put less than that on the thing, right? So I could pay less taxes. So yeah, I go out there and I was just like, this is it. This is it. As it turns out, I was sold a complete damn lemon. Okay, it was a complete lemon, but baby, that lemon lasted me 2 years. Do you hear me? That lemon lasted me 2 years strong, and I'm so grateful. But it was a lemon nonetheless. There turned out, which I found out a year ago, or probably about a year and a half ago, I found out that there was oil leaking from every single spot that oil passes through. That mother sucker lover had oil leaking from everywhere. Do you hear me? And one thing the guy said, he said, when it comes to Mercedes, once they get over 100,000 miles, you're going to start to have issues with them. And they're known to have them oil leak issues once they get over 100,000 miles. So I was like, okay. So here's the thing about me. I trust my visions, and I believe in me. I believe in God, and I don't question, and I don't live off fear, and I don't live off worry at all. And when I say at all, I truly mean at all. Anybody who knows me from the Mercedes Mansion have seen me, even here, like have seen me. I don't live off fear. So I'm saying all this to say it got to a point to where now as my Instagram page started to grow and I was having more things going on, I started shifting my energy so that I could get rid of some of my clients, right? I just work my energy. So I got down to just the client that's out here, which was the family, which is the first clients that I started with. So that was perfect because I got all this going on my Instagram, which was great. And then I was monetized, so it was cool. So now I'm down to one client, which was great. So now my income was down to maybe 12 or 1300 a month with just this one client. I think it was like 1,200 a month. So now I get the news that I got all these oil leaks. So I started putting on a fundraiser because I'm thinking I made my clients a chenille throw blanket for their housewarming party, for the house that they just bought out here. I made them that for my housewarming gift. And of course, it was all on my Instagram. So my Instagram followers was like, "Oh, I love that. Oh, I love that. Oh, that's so dope. Oh, I love it. I love it." So now here we go. A couple months later, I'm like, "Oh, okay. So many people liked it. Maybe they would be willing to, get one for the fun." I pretty much was giving them away. So anyway, I did that. That was a flop. But it wasn't a flop. It showed me that I don't need to do all that. When I get shown things are taken care of, I don't need to do all that. So I had a vision of me driving out of California with my hand on this thick gray steering wheel. The Mercedes Mansion didn't have a thick gray steering wheel. So it was like, okay. But I'm like, okay, whatever. Okay. It just made me smile. Just made me smile. I was like, okay, so everything's going to be all right. So I'm going on. Again, the fundraiser didn't go anywhere. I'm just getting people, just doing what I can to try and get it fixed. I think I ended up just getting like $400 from that. Had a guy come work on something. My serpentine belt came off. Like things were just happening, okay? But I didn't question anything. And I also didn't cancel out on my clients. I was walking. It had got to the point to where 7 months I was walking because the mansion would start up, but oil was leaking like somebody was in there just pouring it out. That's how bad it was leaking. It wasn't small drips, like it was like that. So it would start up. So I was walking. I was walking, but this affected me because I could no longer like go to Walmart to keep up on my trash bags or anything. Nothing. I couldn't drive to go keep up with anything. I was walking everywhere. I still had my Planet Fitness membership at the time, and Planet Fitness, I mean, it's a short drive, but baby, if you got to walk there and you walking in the middle of the day when the sun is beaming and you going to shower and walk back, baby, you're going to be sweated out by the time you walk back. So my showers had went from being every week, because I was taking my showers every week because I had a Planet Fitness membership. So Sundays were my shower day. So 7 months I was walking, 7 months through the winter. And that particular winter, baby, it was cold and wet. It was cold and wet that winter. It had been raining for 5 months, 4.5, 5 months. And so one day I texted my client, Cheryl, and said that I'm on my way or something. And she was like, okay. She said, we want to help you get the mansion fixed, just out of nowhere. I was like, wow. So then Andrew was like, call around, find a place, call a tow truck, get it towed. Like, this was all immediate, and it was perfect because where I was parked at, and the police were looking out for me because they had known who I was. I had showed off my place to them and everything. So the day she texts me that, I see them because they were moving the trees, and this was just right down the street on Irvine. They were cutting the trees, because they were hanging over the sidewalk. So all the vehicles had to be moved from there. And the one cop was like, I didn't want to be the one to ticket you, and this is the last day. And I was just like, see, God, this is why I don't question you, because you always, my whole life, have looked out for me. So I ended up, and I told him, I was like, my clients are getting it fixed for me, so we're going to be getting it towed today. And it was perfect. So I got it towed. I found another European place. We get it towed, right? The guy says to me that he can fix it. It was going to be like $4,200. So then I told him, to call Andrew, because he's the one paying for it, let him know. So I give him Andrew's number. He calls Andrew, and then Andrew calls me back, and he said, did he let you know? I said, yeah. So then Andrew repeats to me, he said it was going to be about 5,000. I was like, oh, he told me. It was like, Andrew was just rounding up. He was like, yeah, he said it was going to be about 4,500. But he told Andrew that he could fix it, but it won't last. He said, if you want to help Shalanda, get her something different. Get her like a Toyota Sienna. This is what, because I told him the situation off top. I told him they're my clients, they're paying for it. I said, I live in here, so I also needed whatever to be done that day, right? So that's what he said. So Andrew was like, so we ended up getting it towed to this private road around the corner from their house, because it was a private road, and I knew that, I wouldn't have any more issues with with just being on a public street. And so they said to start looking for something else. Now, I was looking for something in the price range of what the mechanic said it was going to cost to fix the mansion. So I'm sending them links. Cheryl sends a link back to me and was like, what about this? Now, it was from the same dealership of one of the vehicles that I had sent. And it was this vehicle here, 2004 Dodge Caravan SXT with 60,093 miles. 60,000 miles. And it was $2,000 more than everything else that I had been sending him. And so she was like, I know it's a little bit more, but the mileage is better. And she was like, we want you to be in something that's going to last and that you're going to be safe in and that's reliable. And I was like, I love it. And it had just gotten here to California. This is a North Carolina vehicle. It just got to California, I want to say like 2 months before. And I was just like, I love it. Like it would be perfect. So we go to look at it and it was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. The day we went out there to get it, as soon as I saw it, first of all, and I saw this steering wheel, I was like, that's the steering wheel that was in my vision. I was like, I couldn't believe it. When I saw that steering wheel, I was just like, that's exactly the steering wheel that when we went out there, the day I got it was August 4th, 2023. And when he handed me the keys, they had just had their third child July 28th. So she was in the car nursing Leah. And I went out and just having them keys in my hand and walking up to her, it was just a rush of emotion. And I just started crying. The level of gratitude to not be homeless again. And then I thought back to my words when I went out there to Craig's place, like this is the last place, this is the last time I'm going to live in someone else's home. This is the last time I'm going to rent a room. I'm going to have my mobile home from here. And just the fact that God used them to make sure I was not homeless again. The level, and then she started crying. She's nursing Leah, and she started crying, and she was just like, "You're so welcome." I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it, and it just, you know what it felt like? It felt like all my lifetime of good deeds and not ever blaming God and not holding any hatred in my heart and still helping people, whether it's not having anything myself but still feeding the homeless, whether it's being homeless myself and still caring for other people. It felt like all of my lifetime of good deeds that I didn't boast about publicly or spread on social media or publicize from even my mom and I doing these things. It felt like that was just one more thing to show me that my life is on the right path and you are always rewarded for your good deeds. It may not come when you think or how you think or from who you think, because being gifted a home in my sense, right? It was just, I just couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it. So that is how I got Le Château. And I just made my 1 year anniversary. And again, I made the decision to be a mobile dweller in September of 2017. And it has been a rocky road. It has been ups and downs. I've been homeless in between that. And, it's been a journey, and a journey that I would not trade at all. I love my life, every aspect of my life. I make my decisions consciously and thoroughly, and I don't negotiate with myself. I don't negotiate and go back and forth on my decisions, because when I make them, I think them through beforehand. So once I decide this is it, I don't go back and forth. I don't care who says what about me. Having that Instagram page, honey, people call me homeless. You name it. I don't care nothing about that. It's just, I'm solid when I make my decisions. Even making the decision to not take on any more clients so that I can 100% full-fledged figure out how to really be an entrepreneur and not just self-employed. That is a sacrifice. That's a sacrifice, but I'm still taken care of. I still at every point have everything I need. So, like I've said before, when I say, although, my YouTube, I am a partner, I am monetized, it's very, very slow, and that's okay. But when I say I appreciate every single one of you who are subscribed, I appreciate every single comment, every like, every interaction. Those who's been here, you guys know I interact with your comments. I heart your comments. I like posting on my community page. I like doing lives because I like that real time interaction. I know my van life doesn't look like anybody else's, but neither do I. Okay, so it shouldn't look like anybody else's. But I like to share my real life. And for me, it's okay that right now I have to really minimize my driving. To me, it's okay that my van life doesn't look like everybody else's. And I'm just grateful that my page is still growing. It may be growing slow, but that's better than no growth at all, or that's better than losing subscribers. So when I tell you guys that I'm really, really grateful to those who have bought my journals, just let me give y'all a hug. Let me give y'all a big hug for that, because that means so much to me. Okay. That I'm truly appreciative. I'm truly appreciative. Share the link. The link is in the description. Share the link to my journals. If you don't know what I'm talking about, they're on Amazon. Click the link, even just to look at them. Okay. Even just to see what I'm talking about. Just take a look. I have a couple of journals that I've created. Just take a look at them. You'll see some reviews. Okay. So I'm so grateful to all of y'all for every single thing, for rocking with me. And it will get greater. My YouTube, my van life will eventually be more mobile, more adventurous. But I gotta say, I love my life. I love my life. Even the fact that I'm this kind, like I'm sitting here in the parking lot, door open. Like I live my life openly. you know I live my life openly. And what I think is dope is even some people that come to the library, whether they see my plants here, or it was one time I had my plants up on the balcony and it was an older lady. She walked past here and she stopped and looked up at them and was just smiling. I love that. I love that I can share what makes me happy, which is my plants and living here. I love that people look and then they see how I have it set up and they walk past and they look and they smile, or they come up and talk to me and they ask questions. You know, the fact that they're just real people coming in and out of the library, not travelers, not people on the outskirts, like, oh, van life, you know, for me, I love that. I love that I've had divorced women. As a divorced woman, I've had divorced women come up and talk to me and was like, I think it's dope what you're doing. And, you know, how can I even start working for myself? What can I do? Just asking for advice. And just, I love that. To me, that's real life. And I wouldn't trade those experiences just to be by the beach or live on the outskirts and not interact with real people. You know what I mean? Because I'm a real person. As I'm sitting here, even putting together how I'm going to put my Etsy store together with my expensive crochet coats and jackets. Just, I'm a real person, you know, working out what's the next service that I'm going to create and how can I hire contract people so that I don't have to work it myself, so that I can really build it up. I'm a real person. You know what I mean? I had to put my life back together after divorce. I had to build my clientele up from fresh cosmetology school after being divorced and never had to take on a second job. I was able to keep my rent paid. I was not pushed out. Like, I'm proud of every single part of my life, including choosing to live in a vehicle so that I can navigate my life how I want to, so that I can have lights without a dumbass light bill, so that I can cook on my gas stove without an expensive, stupid gas bill, you know? So that I can have shelter that's not going to cost me 2,500 goddamn dollars a month for 50 square feet of space. You know, I'm proud of that. So it isn't for everybody, but I'm not for everybody. But those of you who are for me and who I am for, I'm very grateful for you being here. And that's why I wanted to do this reintroduction, because I do have some new subscribers. So welcome to My Creative Nomad Life, my friends, mon ami. I appreciate y'all. Thanks for rocking with me. That is the end of this live. And I'll see y'all in the comments. Leave a comment, like the video, share the video, check out the links. And if you'd like, buy a journal or two. Peace, y'all.